hello, everybody. Welcome back to the reality recap. I am your host, Queenie, and we are going to touch on a lot of things, child. 6 episodes of Perfect Match, the 4th episode of Beyond the Villa, and some real drama beyond the villa that's been going on for the past how many days? Oh my goodness. I feel like it feels like one day, but like 30 days all in one. It's just been such a whirlwind in the Love Island universe. So before I get into it, please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, no matter what platform you are on. If you are on YouTube, we are steadily growing. Thank you so much. Please keep following, keep commenting, keep doing all the lovely things. We love that over here. If you are listening on an audio platform, I appreciate you as well. Just know that the alternative is available if you're watching video. Audio is available if you're doing audio. Video is available. And as always, there are ad-free audio versions available with Apple subscriptions. Also, we are on Instagram, Reality Recap Pod. And since we're talking about Instagram, let's unpack what happened in the last week of the Love Island universe over on Instagram. So I'm sure it's no surprise if you are in the streets of the Love Island world, it's no surprise to you that JaNa and Kenny have broken up. I will say, although JaNa and Kenny's news was the biggest news, clearly, this week has just been insane. It's just been thing after thing after thing after thing. We had Marco, the winner of season 5. He was exposed for saying racist and ableist things, which he did technically apologize for, but that janky apology has since been deleted, so I don't know if he's still remorseful. I don't know. I don't know why he would delete it. Then we have Amaya, who was exposed for saying certain things, and they were trying to expose Nick as well, and it has since come out that both of those situations had doctored receipts. So people were trying to frame Amaya as a colorist. It came out on Friday that there was a person just doing that for clout, and that was not real at all. And then somebody was trying to do the same or similar thing with Nick, and it turned out that those receipts were also doctored. Guys, this is truly jobless behavior. Truly jobless behavior. And I'm not saying that to demean anybody who doesn't have a job. All I'm saying is, like, there is no need to try and tear people down that you do not know, especially regarding baseless things. Baby, if you're at home and you have nothing to do, go out and touch the grass, garden, volunteer, help the needy. I don't know. Do something else instead of creating falsities that can truly be detrimental to somebody's life. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Don't condone it whatsoever. What I also don't condone is what is going on with Kenny, or what has been going on for seemingly the past year. So as we've been watching Beyond the Villa, of course, people are now starting to pick up on some weird energy coming from Kenny, but it seems as if this is something that has been brewing under the surface for a long time with Kenny. He was exposed on Instagram by JaNa and friends, basically for saying racist things regarding her, choosing to stay with her as long as he did because he thought that he would get more clout and more money. Saying that he's ready to call it quits so that he can F hella bees. You know what them words mean. It's just been insane. It's been absolutely crazy. The way that he was trying to skate out of this, just act like, oh, you know, breakups happen. I hope the best for JaNa. You know, sometimes relationships can't last as long as you thought they would. He really was trying to frame himself as either the good guy or to say that the breakup was amicable, and that was not the case at all. Serena spoke out, Leah spoke out, Kayla, Liv, all of season 6, barring Aaron because he's not really on social media, they all unfollowed him. Like, Ariana unfollowed Kenny. It is nasty. What is going on right now with Kenny is absolutely nasty. The newest news that I've heard today is that apparently Kenny might have a Finsta, and on the Finsta, he's trying to use it to apologize to JaNa. So a lot of people thought that it was fake. However, the link to the Insta was to the Finsta was found on his legitimate Instagram. So maybe he was hacked, or maybe he's trying to do this like sneak around way to get to JaNa. Since then, the account has been privated. He has also turned off the comments because people were trying to tag JaNa and Leah and all the PPGM. So yeah, it's just been absolutely hectic. It's been crazy. I also got sent a TikTok, which I'm hesitant to bring it up just because those were allegations, but honestly, it's looking more legit with time. Last year, there was a story going around that Kenny and Kendall were hosting a club night and they were being colorist at the door. They were only letting light-skinned women in, or just non-black women at all, right? Not non-black women, period. That's what I meant to say. And so at the time, everybody thought, like, what an egregious story. Like, that's so crazy. Why would they ever do that? There's no rhyme or reason for that to be true. Now, when you have the context of this, it kind of makes you think, like, was there some validity in that story? And then it also makes me side-eye Kendall, I'll be completely honest, because he's currently dating a black woman on the show. They keep showing this lady, Alana. He is kind of being, like, non-committal with her, though. He's like, oh, the distance, and I'm scared to plant roots because I have trauma from Nicole and I have trauma from my parents divorcing. Those are legit traumas. I'm just saying he's seeming a little bit flighty even with her. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the stories that were coming out last year about said party is looking a little bit legit, if you ask me. But of course, that was just a story. I'm not saying it actually happened. We don't know. We weren't there. But if you were there, let me know. So yeah, we're going into this episode with all of that information. It's definitely coloring how a lot of people are watching the show. A lot more people in general are watching the show. I know that people just haven't really been tuned in to Beyond the Villa. I don't blame you guys. I feel like this is the episode where we're starting to really get into some stories that we can buy into a little bit more. So some health issues, some family issues, some relationship issues. It seems a little bit more authentic 4 episodes in. Because before, baby, I was struggling. I'll be honest with you. It just felt very contrived, but this episode felt a little bit more real. So like I said, we have Kendall, who is exploring dating a little bit more. He says that his parents' divorce has kind of made him a non-committal, and he is still reeling with the betrayal that he experienced with Nicole from last year. That's something that he's holding on to, and it's making it hard for him to jump back into the dating scene fully. I will say, I spoke a little bit about the whole Nicole thing. I do think that there are some things that get overlooked regarding Kendall's behavior in that relationship, simply because he was the victim of something very, like, wrong, very disgusting, right? So I do understand why people focus on him and how Nicole treated him. I just think even before everything came to a head, there were things that Kendall owed. I struggle to say it, but it's true. I do believe that there were things that Kendall owed Nicole, seeing that they were in a relationship. And the main thing is honesty. That's what Nicole was looking for. And at the reunion, that was her biggest qualm. But unfortunately, people just didn't want to hear it because Kendall was the one experiencing this, like, horrible thing, right? We're now hearing some more context that Kendall struggles with relationships because of the divorce of his parents. So I'm interested to see if he's going to dive into that a little bit more, like explain how it truly affects him. He did say, like, commitment issues have been a thing since he was in uni, I think. But yeah, that's something that I'm missing from the show. Like, they'll give you a little bit something, but they won't really elaborate too much. I don't know if it's because there's just not enough time or what. Because later on, we learn about Serena's anxiety, and she does get into it, but not, like, enough for me for us to really latch on to the stories that they're trying to tell us on the show. But anyways, let's move on. Next is JaNa and Kenny. They are in one of their apartments. I don't know which one. And they're talking about this dog that they plan on fostering for the summer. They don't agree on how this is going to go. In JaNa's mind, this is training ground for them having a child. In Kenny's mind, he doesn't want to bother with any of it. And JaNa's like, oh, well, if you can't take care of a dog, how are you going to take care of a baby, let alone 4? Because we know that she wants to have married and have 4 kids. Kenny doesn't want that. And we're not just saying that now because of what's happened. It has been prevalent that Kenny's vision for his life doesn't align with what JaNa wants for them, right? In this episode, I'm going to be honest, we do see some moments where you can tell JaNa wants to see the best in their relationship, but the signs are showing that there's trouble in paradise, you know? She says sometimes Kenny needs to be forced to do things, right? And I have a problem with that, because if you're telling your partner, hey, I want this, or this is a goal that I have for us, or this is the trajectory that I see my life going, and instead of hearing them out, you just say, oh, well, as my partner, you're going to do this thing. I think that that's a problem. I think that's why a lot of the signs in their relationship were missed. Not to say that she would know the extent that this man would go. Who could have known that? But we see him not wanting to live together. We see him just not really agreeing when she gets so excited and giddy about marriage and kids and stuff like that. He just kind of seems like he tolerates her sometimes. Last week, we saw his lack of knowledge in things that should be known by a boyfriend, especially a boyfriend of a year. Kenny's not fully in this relationship. That is clear as day. So clear as day. So yeah, it was a little bit frustrating to see her kind of just impose these things on him. I'll be so honest with you. This has been something that we've kind of seen from the beginning. If people want to be honest, I know a lot of people ride at dawn for JaNa. I love that. I think that there are things that were prevalent even at the start of their relationship. She has a similar issue that Ciara had this season. They kind of talk for their partner and they don't really know where their partner stands because they haven't let the person make their stance clear. So sometimes you would see JaNa make decisions for Kenny or lead him to an answer, and then we don't end up knowing what Kenny's actual mindset is. Now, is that JaNa's fault? Not completely, because Kenny is a grown man. He should be able to speak up for himself. If he can't, that's something for him to then, discover, learn how to speak up for yourself a little bit more. But yeah, there were plenty of times where she would lead him to an answer, and I would think, is that really what Kenny wanted to say? I don't know. We saw the same thing with Ciara and Nick. Nick went viral for not being able to lie, right? Nick would refuse to say certain things, at least from what we got to see. But what would we see with Ciara? Ciara would speak something over their relationship that hasn't been said, or she would, I don't even really know how to articulate it, but you could tell she's speaking for Nick and Nick was just going along with it. Again, Nick could have been more transparent. He very well could have, but the person in the relationship could also just let their partner speak so that you know where they stand and then you can move accordingly instead of thinking, oh, well, if I think this, then my partner probably thinks it too. And because they didn't say no, then we're on one accord and then things just spiral out of control and here we are. A couple who is happy to foster a dog is Leah and Miguel. They're just firing from all cylinders. They're going from strength to strength. It's really good to see the development in their relationship. I will say I didn't enjoy watching Leah talk about her story, but I did enjoy the fact that we got a peek behind the veil a little bit. This season has just felt so cookie cutter, just something about it wasn't connecting to me. So to see people really open up about things going on in their personal lives, to me, it helped me resonate with the storylines that were being told, right? So right now, Leah is waiting to find out if the lumps on her thyroid are cancerous. And it's not just this like doomsday mentality that she has that's making her spiral. We learned that there is a history of cancer in her family. So this is something that she is hyper aware of. I completely understand. In my own family, there's diabetes on my mother's side. Like we've lost plenty of people from diabetes. So that's something that me, my cousins, my siblings, we're all super aware of. And if it was cancer, oh my gosh, if it was cancer, I couldn't even imagine where your brain would go. So I completely understand seeing Leah just kind of get in this rut of like, what could this be? What does this mean for me? When am I going to get answers? I completely understand. It's so good to see that she has the dog as a distraction and she has Miguel as a support. Honestly, he was growing on me already on Love Island, but seeing him on Beyond the Villa, honestly, stand-up guy. Really stand-up guy. I love him and Leah together. Truly, I do. We then get to see Serena and Cordell at a cooking class. They made a steak with some like mushroom sauce on it. I said, wow, let me take a cooking class and learn how to make some steak. I don't think I've ever made a steak in my life. I should learn. I should learn, you know? So she tries to make a joke saying that she's pregnant. And Cordell's like, please, if you're gonna prank me with something that I could believe, right? And this starts to open up a conversation about what she would and wouldn't do before the ring, which is basically nothing. She's not gonna live with somebody, she's not gonna have a kid. Like, those are the values that she was raised up on. That is a conversation that's gonna come again at the end. But yeah, I don't think that that's out of the ordinary. I was raised kind of similarly. Is that to say that kids out of wedlock have not have not come out of my family? They absolutely have. They absolutely have. But the values are just that to save certain things for marriage, and that's how Serena was raised as well. We also get more context on this anxiety that she's been talking about. When I first was mentioning the separation anxiety, I wasn't sure if if the anxiety had to do with the separation or if it was a deeper anxiety outside of her relationship with Cordell. And we find out in this episode that she's been dealing with anxiety basically her whole life, and it has gotten worse with time. But being in a relationship with Cordell has really helped her. He's been able to help her cope in the mornings when she wakes up in a panic and stuff like that. So him being away, yes, she's going to miss him. And yes, that separation anxiety does exist, but it's really because she no longer has that safety blanket. She no longer has him to help her deal with these like morning panic attacks or whatever this anxiety. And I hope that it's not wrong for me to say panic attacks and anxiety together. I'm not quite sure. Please don't crucify me. I don't know. Right. But yeah, I can completely understand why it is so hard for her to deal with Cordell, being gone for so long. Whew, that's a tough one. That is definitely a doozy. I wonder why. Maybe she went into it and I wasn't paying attention. I wonder why it has gotten more intense with time. That's something that I'd be curious to know, but anyways, we find out that Kayla is in the hospital. She has kidney stones. This is something that she's been dealing with for years, but when they are too big to pass, she does have to get them surgically removed. She said that this time around, it gave her a really nasty UTI, a urinary tract infection. So yeah, everybody's just going through something, child. But again, not to say that I like that they're going through stuff, but I like that we get to see the real stuff that they are dealing with. We later see Kayla get visited by Liv. Liv brings her flowers. You know, she's trying to be a better friend, and I love that she's showing up in this way for her. She says, she being Kayla, says that she's interested in a guy. I feel like his name was Torin. I don't remember, but he is a friend of Caleb's, and she wasn't aware of how close they were. So now it's just becoming this contentious thing with Caleb. Caleb wishes that he had like a courtesy call or a heads up saying, hey, by the way, I'm talking to a friend of yours. This is where I was looking at Liv. Like, Liv might be a little bit toxic because Liv is like, oh, well, why would he need to know who else you're talking to? Like, why would he need to know that you're talking to his friend? Well, because that's his friend. Granted, Kayla and Caleb weren't in a relationship. So does she really owe him anything? Not necessarily. But if I'm talking to you and then you start talking to my friend, I'm going to need to know that. I'm definitely going to need to know that. She then is going to say that she plans on inviting this guy to a party that Kendall is going to host. And of course, Aaron is going to be there. So that's a little bit murky because in the last few episodes, we've seen Aaron and Kayla bonding a little bit more, you know, teasing the chance of rekindling. Oh my gosh, please no. You guys should know by now. I see a show as the show. It is edited. Things are, you know, contrived for entertainment and stuff like that. So you can't take what you see on the show as complete gospel. But as somebody who lived with Aaron, as somebody who got to experience him day in and day out, and then you saw the aftermath after the show, you had a tiff with him at the reunion or even before. Before and at the reunion. I would think that what you've seen is clearly indicative of the person that he is. Could he have changed? Yeah. Right now, he is on a healing journey, though, so I think it's important to let him fully experience that healing journey. But you have seen enough to know, let's not go there. Let's not blur the lines. Let's not cross boundaries. Let's just keep it at a distance. Let me not even touch that flame, I think. So it only would be messy for her to bring this guy if the, you know, The boundaries with Aaron have become more and more murky. She claims that that door is officially closed with him, but you could see even when he was expressing concern about her being in the hospital and her struggling with being an influencer and stuff like that, he definitely still has a lot of affection for her. In the next episode though, like there was a trailer for the next episode, he made it seem like he doesn't care at all. So maybe I'm the one just projecting. That could be the case. We will see. We will see. We see Liv and Kendall trying to explore this new life for themselves. They want to go into hosting, and so they go for these classes with this lady. I think it's cool to see them try to explore different avenues in the influencer space. Sometimes you see somebody get popular and then you're like, okay, but like, what do you do? So it'd be interesting to see how far this hosting gig is going to go for them, especially because a lot of people are struggling with the influencer life. And I'll get into that too at the end of this little recap of the episode. Before that, we do see that Serena plans a going away party for Cordell, but she only invites PPG and PPGM. And that becomes a problem for some of, you know, the little stragglers being Connor. He's like, oh, I don't like how there's factions in this friend group, and I would have loved to send Cordell off. And here's the thing. In a big friend group, it is natural for certain people to gravitate towards each other. It's not going to be that every single person is going to be at every single event every single time. That's just not the case. And if Serena is doing something, now even learning that she does have anxiety, she's probably trying to protect her peace. And if it's something that she's going to be conducting herself, she probably doesn't want to be overstimulated. She doesn't want people there who are going to cause drama. She doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So I think when you take yourself out of the situation and you look at it objectively, you can see why Serena did it in that way. But Connor feels away. Kendall's putting on a brave face about it. He might feel away too. I think before he has mentioned clicks as well. But I'm sorry. To me, the click makes sense. Those three girls, they were latched to each other quite quickly. The boys as well, by extension of the girls. So yeah, I don't know. It just makes sense to me. The episode ended in another PPG meetup. Here we have JaNa talking about how she found out that Kenny no longer wanted to stay with her. She said, I think that she found out in a grocery store and she was so sad, like she was bawling in the store. To me, that's yet another thing to examine more. Like, don't just take the things that he says as little frivolous things. Investigate. Why all of a sudden is he uncomfortable wanting to stay with you? And the thing is space. The answer is space. That to me is a concern. Like, it's not your values, similar to what Serena was saying, like, oh, I was raised on different values and I don't want to, stray from that. It's not even stuff like that. It's just, I want space from you. Red flag, big red flag, big red flag. Leah seems to be the person who has kind of spotted some little flags regarding Kenny, and she gives a big side eye when JaNa says the long distance thing is going to really bother her, especially because if they're planning on having a future together, what is he going to do about his places in Dallas and New York? Hold on. He has 2 other places outside of the summer apartment in LA. Like, this man, come on. It doesn't seem like he's ready to commit to JaNa at all. Leah is like, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense. And we do have just a quick moment of JaNa basically saying she regrets giving so much before the ring. And so Serena can relate. She's like, she's the only girl in the friend group who wouldn't do certain things before getting married. Leah is okay with living with your partner, is okay with stuff like that. That doesn't bother her. However, with Kenny specifically, she has her eye on the situation. She's not fully trusting what's going on there. Then we have Leah getting emotional about her own situation with her health. How could you not get emotional? Honestly, like, it wouldn't even matter if it was cancer, just any health issue, just feeling like your body is failing you. That's a hard pill to swallow, you know what I'm saying? And so she hasn't really been opening up with her friends because she says that she doesn't want to be a burden. Serena can relate. She starts to open up about her anxiety, and PPG did not know how much she was struggling with it for real. And she too is like, well, I just didn't want to be a burden to anybody. I relate so much. Like, I love that this season of Beyond the Villa is just allowing me to see the women in a different light, because I truly struggled to connect during season 6. But I relate so much with what Serena and Leah are saying. You want to feel like you can fight these battles on your own while simultaneously wanting a village, but not wanting to be a burden to said village. You know what I'm saying? But then being upset at your friend for not coming to you, saying, well, you could have come to me that you had issues. And it's like, well, you could have come to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I completely understand. Janae, sorry. Oh, Serena did say why it's gotten worse over the years. She said social media has really amped up her anxiety. So she feels like she's constantly being scrutinized, and it's really hard for her to just live authentically because people tell her she needs to fix her hair, she needs to fix her teeth, she needs to fix her nose. And then Janae and Leah were like, it doesn't even matter if you fix your nose, they'll still crucify you about that. I wish that the show was edited a little bit better in a way that would captivate more of an audience, because this is so important for the audience to see. It is so important to see how badly some of the Islanders are struggling with the response from the audience. It is great to see the love and support and the brand deals and the business opportunities. It is amazing. But the downside is you're constantly under a microscope. You're being told that how you naturally look is a problem. You're being pressured to hold on to a relationship that clearly is dead in the water. There's so many pressures that you face coming off of a big show like Love Island, especially these last 2 seasons in particular. And the audience is oftentimes these young kids who just don't understand the impact they are having on these people because of how they show up on social media. So it would have been nice for the people who really popularized Love Island to also see the dark side of what happens when you come off the show. And I wish that they highlighted it more. Of course, we're seeing the conversation, but it would have been nice to have not like an intervention type thing, but where everybody's talking about the thing all at once, and it's like a focal point of the show. Like, let's talk about how hard it is now being an influencer, being so widely perceived. And anyways, they're touching on it, but just not in a way that I would like them to. That's all. That's it for episode 4. In the next episode, we did see that Aaron is going to see this new man that Kaylor is talking to. What else goes on? Janae and Kenny have that conversation that's been a big topic in the trailers, where he said, I want space from you. That's crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we finally get to see Nicole and Kendall have their conversation. Very intrigued to see how that one pans out. So let's get into The Perfect Match. We are on season 3 of The Perfect Match. And I will say, the first 6 episodes, they were giving. A lot of the drama came in episode 6, but by the end of episode 2, I was like, hold on now. We're seeing some juicy things develop, even though we know one of the couples that ends up together. Actually, we're all just speculating that they end up together. Do we know that for sure? Do we know that they even win? I feel like we've been like force-fed AD and Ollie that we just assume that they're the winners of the show, but maybe they're not. Anyways, even though we kind of know some of the outcomes that could happen in this season, there was still a lot to unpick and unpack. So let's get into it. The show starts with AD, Sandy, Cody, and Louie coming into the villa. It was giving very much Love Island. This is the first time that I noticed that. I've only watched season 1, but it feels a lot more like Love Island this season. I don't know. That could just be me. But anyways, here's Louie already making comments about how well endowed he could be and how he admires the women's assets, if you know what I mean. Louie, you're not beating the F-boy allegations. And it only gets worse from here. Then next we have Madison, Lucy, Daniel, and Ollie, or Oli, as AD called him. They come in and Ollie immediately has eyes for AD. At least that's how they made it seem. But I did like seeing that the attraction was immediate. If I saw that Ollie had to convince himself to like AD, I would, I don't know what I would do with myself. I had already seen basically a similar storyline with Clayton AD. I do think that he liked the girl at least like physically, like her body, but it looked like he kept trying to convince himself to be into this woman. I was not going to take another season of somebody convincing themselves to like AD. I'm so sorry. No. So to see that he was immediately drawn to her, I said, thank God. Thank God. So anyways, the non-NRU people start to come in. We have Juliet, who is from Siesta Key. She immediately has her eyes on Daniel. And then we have Clayton, who was doing like a TikTok dance. And I was like, what the hell is this about? Apparently that's what he does on TikTok. I didn't know. Sandy immediately knew who he was. She follows his TikToks. She was fangirling over him. I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is a little marketing thing for him. And honestly, when you watch the show, I guess Clayton just came for exposure because what the hell was he on? Ooh, we're going to get into that later. So Nick hosts, Nick being Nick Lachey, he hosts an icebreaker, but honestly, Louis decides to take matters into his own hands. He was like, that game was cute and all, Nick, but I want to see Daniel suck Juliet's toes. I said, what? What? That is so brave. I'm so sorry. What do I look like putting anybody's toes in my mouth, first of all? But the toes of a woman that I just met, I don't know what the hell she's been doing with her feet. Are you good? He did it, though. He did it. I said, okay. Daniel is intrigued by Lucy. Wait, whose toes did he suck? Yeah, it was Juliet's. Okay. I was like, wait, he's intrigued by Lucy. He was, though. And he was like, I like Juliet, but I've never dated a blonde before. And every time this topic comes up, it truly perplexes me because you're going to steer clear of Juliet because she's blonde. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of reasons to steer clear from Juliet. This girl is a pick me. So sorry. Put my hands up. I apologize. This girl is a pick me. Oh my gosh, the desperation. But you're telling me you're not going to pursue her, not because of those things, but because you've never dated a blonde before and you don't know what that's like. So you're going to focus on Lucy because she's a brunette. Somebody please break it down to me how hair color has anything to do with anything. If that was the case in my community, I swear, like we would have such a hard time because literally my hair right now is brown. My real hair is black. Sometimes I might put a little blonde in there. Sometimes I do purple braids. Sometimes, like, are you serious? Hair color is this big of a deal in certain communities. It never makes sense to me. It never made sense to me and it never will, truly. So anyways, Daniel and Lucy are the first to match. Surprise, surprise. And they are followed by Ollie and AD. Everybody was lick locking, booty rubbing. I said, whoa, y'all are fast. This is Love Island for real. Then we have Louis. He's basically struggling to match because he's the youngest guy there. He's 23. A lot of the women are 28, 29. They're in their late 20s. So respectfully, they're not trying to fool with little boy. I think one of them said, oh, you're just a baby. You're such a baby. That is so embarrassing. You never want to hear that, but that's the reality. They put you in with a group of older women. They're obviously going to point out your age first and foremost, but he is connecting with Sandy and Madison. Madison is from Minnesota, right? Why was she clowning him? Basically, she was clowning him for not knowing where Minnesota was. But then she's the same person who's like, oh, do you know Canada? Minnesota's right under it. I said, big Canada? Big Canada. Minnesota's right under it. Girl, I feel like that was the same thing. I don't know. I didn't like that she was clowning him because her answer wasn't too great anyways, but ultimately he picked Sandy regardless. Then we see Madison, who pivots to Cody, but it is to be noted that her first connection was Clay. I think that she should have stuck with Clay in the beginning because she was talking to Clay and then Clay was being pursued by Juliet. He swerved her. And I was like, girl, this man is locked in with you. Like, this girl's trying to talk to him. He comes from The Bachelor. He's very aware of conversations being intercepted and stuff. And he shuts that down to keep talking to you. You should focus on that. But she connects with Cody in the bed later. She accidentally calls him Clayton. I said, girl, you're showing your hand. We know where your head is at. But now that Clayton has been now that Madison chose Cody, Clayton is kind of forced to pick Juliet. He's making it seem like he would have picked her, but come on, we know that wasn't going to be the case. Then they have a compatibility game. Cody and Madison win, but at a horrible cost. Madison lets us know that Cody could benefit from a tongue scraper and some mouthwash. That's what she said. I said, how bad is his breath to point it out for the cameras? If it was just like, oh, he's having an off day, like, when you're very active, this happens to me when I sing. When I'm singing at like a concert or something, sometimes, you got to pop a little mint or something. I'm like, maybe it's because he's active and stuff. Tongue scraper? That's just poor hygiene. Tongue scraper? Baby, that's halitosis levels. You know what I'm saying? So they end up going on a date. I wouldn't have wanted to go. After that, I would have said, you know what? I'll give it to somebody else. I'll fumble the win. Hell, I know I'm competitive, but you can have it. I don't want to do it. Like, I do not want to do it. But anyways, they go into the boardroom. If you don't know what the boardroom is, this is where they match people to go on new dates with new people. And then those people now come into the house and they are new singles to explore. Basically, Carrington was chosen for Juliet. Yes. And then they were considering JR for Sandy, which is so messy. So messy. But because she's been having a rough time with Cody, Madison actually chooses to send herself on a date and she picks Freddie. I said, girl, I don't blame you. Freddie was a hot commodity and he ends up being a hot commodity on the show too. How could he not be? Look at the man. Beautiful. So beautiful. But that is the end of episode 1. Now on to episode 2. Carrington is on the scene. And remember when I said that Carrington was charming? I take it back. The lack of couth coming from Carrington, like what was going on? The man literally said he's a self-aware douchebag and he plans on love bombing the out of these women. You are coming to deliberately cause havoc. I mean, we know that to be true based on all the bios, but like, ew, Carrington. I didn't like that from him, but okay. Juliet says that she likes toxicity, so I guess Carrington is not a bad shout. But I still did not like that he said that. Madison is very touchy with Freddie. He's very receptive. And she's like, yeah, I know he's going to be a hot commodity in this villa. And boy, is he, okay? So the men are stressed. They are outnumbered. So Clayton, Carrington, and Cody, they are vying for Juliet. Sad day to be a C name. And apparently Juliet has bad history with the C names. So they're all vying for Juliet's attention. There are some solid couples though. We have AD and Ollie together, Daniel and Lucy together, Louie and Sandy together. And then Freddie ultimately becomes one of the solid couples. He locks in with Madison. So now we're just waiting to see who Juliet is going to pick. She is torn between remaining with Clayton, but he's been a little bit too serious for her. She wants somebody who has a little bit more banter, who's a bit funnier. He's a little bit of a stick in the mud right now. So she's also considering Carrington. He obviously just came in, and then Cody, who I don't think Cody was actually ever on her mind, but he was just an option there, so why not consider him? She ultimately picks Clayton, which means that Carrington and Cody, they have to go. So if you didn't know, with the perfect match, people will go home, but really they just get thrown back into the pool of who else is coming in. So it is likely that we are going to see them again. We then get to the next compatibility challenge. We have Clayton, who really proves that he's just so boring. Oh my goodness. It was a game where there's these anonymous sayings and you have to guess who said what. Every single answer from Clay was just so bland. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Big man, attractive man. Hell, he has so much fun on TikTok, but him in person, it's just not giving. And I wish that boring was the cap. He is very problematic, but we're going to wait to get into that. So we also see that Louie is definitely an F-boy in this challenge. Freddie, he got chosen the most by the women. Madison literally says it's as if Freddie was written by a woman. I don't know if you guys know that trend, but There are certain like songs or books where people can tell, oh, this is written by a woman because of the type of romance, because of the way that the love is told, right? And sometimes when you read stuff or when you hear songs, you're like, a man wrote this, because there's no way a woman would be attracted to what's going on here. And when she said it's like Freddie is written by a woman, I said, that is the most perfect explanation of who Freddie is. That makes complete sense. I loved it. It was great. So ultimately, the couple that took the cake was Ollie and AD. They were very in sync. It was more so her than him. She knew the answers that he would have said. He didn't know as much. So fast forwarding to the boardroom, they went on a date, didn't really care for the date. But in the boardroom, they took a different approach than the first couple. They were more strategic. So they easily matched Freddie with Rachel. Ollie basically wanted to look out for his friends. He was like, listen, my UK boys, Freddie, and what's that man's name? Louis. That was his priority. You could tell that clear as day, which is fine. Just fine. Then we have Louis, who was paired up with Alex. Initially, AD was fighting for QT to be partnered up with Louis. Ollie had an agenda, and he was going to fight tooth and nail to succeed. It was clear from here that he has eyes for Alex, obviously. Granted, he has been very affectionate with AD, not even trying to make it seem like the guy wasn't feeling the girl. Like, they're very physical. There was even a time where AD was like, you have to stop. I'm going to fall for you. And that's hasty for me to do right now. You have to stop. So he does like AD, but his eyes starting to wander a little bit. So after hearing that Freddie is going to go on a date, Madison is crying. And immediately Ollie is like, I'm sensing the manipulation in her tears. I said, Ollie, we are here. People tried to cook me, and honestly, you can cook me again. I don't care. I like being well done. People tried to cook me for my thoughts on Madison, but I am so sorry. Some of the ways that Madison moves is manipulative. And in this moment, the way that she was crying, it almost felt like she wanted to guilt trip Freddie, like before going on this date. Like, oh, remember me, miss me, look at me, I'm so sad and distraught. Like, even Ollie was like, oh, you're acting like he's going to war or something. I was like, Ollie, we see each other. We definitely see each other. But anyways, that was the end of episode 2. Jumping now into episode 3. When Alex comes in, the villa is in shambles. The women are shook. The men are shook. The girl is gorgeous. Like, I remember seeing her on Temptation Island, but maybe because she was like talking to Breon, I was just like, watching her come into the villa. Like, what? The girl is a stunner. So AD, she's in a unique position because Ollie didn't pick himself to go on the date, but she obviously knows that he had an ulterior motive in bringing in Alex. So he says point blank, I chose Alex to stir things up. And sure enough, that's what happened. Right now we have Sandy, Lucy, and AD all squirming. Jaws were on the floor when Alex came in, and she's going in hot and heavy. She's not afraid to explore the guys. She's not afraid to throw in the line about threesomes and stuff. I said, Alex, you've had time to come through with different lines. I heard her say threesome like 15 times this episode. Like, it wasn't that many times, but I was like, girl, come on, come with something different. But anyways, so as we know, Rachel went on the date with Freddie, right? They actually had a good time. They both have this physical chemistry. They like each other. It's, it was sparking between them. However, she has her hands full because Clayton, her ex, is on the show. Here's what Clayton did. This is what I summarized from the show. Clayton slept with her and slept with another girl. Clayton said he loved her and said he loved another girl. And Clayton asked for this woman's hand in marriage, just to end the season with nobody. He did all of that just to break up with her. And from the sounds of it, they broke up twice. So she's now going into this situation with a guy who literally had the conversation with her father to get married and then like broke things off. Like, that's the relationship trauma she's walking into the villa with. So I don't blame her for being on edge now that she has to be faced with Clayton, right? Clayton starts to move weird. He immediately is like, oh yeah, I want to see if we can, try something again. Maybe you being here is a sign he really wants to match with her. And I'm thinking the way that he dogged her out, I would never. But here goes Rachel actually considering it. So, of course, Freddie, he's there. He's keen. He likes Madison, but he would be open to explore things with Rachel. But because Rachel is genuinely torn, I believe that's why he decided to hone in on Madison. That's not what he said, but that's what I think. He put the ball in her court and she was doing a lot of dribbling. He said, if you're not going to shoot your shot, I'm going to go somewhere else. And go somewhere else, he did. So then, while we see Rachel and Clayton have the conversation, why does Juliet come to try and talk to Clayton again? And he swerves her again. Juliet, when will you learn? Juliet, when will you learn? This man does not like his conversations to be interrupted. He does not like it at all. But then I'm realizing apparently dealing with Clayton gives you amnesia, because there's going to be a situation with Rachel where it's like, well, baby girl, you should have known that it was going to end this way if it already happened the same way twice. But let me not jump the gun. So Ollie makes a joke saying that he's going to match with Alex. And I'm like, a lot of jokes come from the truth. But ultimately he decides to stick with AD. As he should. That's a safer bet at this point. Then we have Daniel, who sticks with Lucy. Freddie, like we know, left the ball in Rachel's court, but he ultimately chose Madison. Rachel, she literally is like, I'm probably making a big mistake. This is going to blow up in my face. But she decides to match with Clayton. Okay. All right. Then we have a Louis. He's tantalized by this whole like threesome thing. He's like, oh wait, you like threesomes? Can I have you and Sandy at the same time? Please be so for real. Even through all of that, he's at the point where he's like, you know what? I have built something good with Sandy. I'm actually starting to develop feelings for her. I'm going to stick with her. So that means Alex went home, and I think it was Juliet went as well. Juliet was having regrets that she didn't pick Cody. Girl, it sounds like there's much to be desired with Cody, so I don't think you missed out on much. The next day, they have a compatibility challenge, and it's the kissing challenge, which apparently happened in season 2. I didn't watch season 2, but I watched Love Island, and this was basically the kissing challenge in Love Island. So I'm going to give you guys the scores. AD gave Freddie a 4. She says he kisses like a bird and he just sticks his tongue everywhere. Listen, you can't have it all, Freddie. You can't have good looks, the charm, make women swoon, and be a great kisser. I'm sorry. He had to falter somewhere. And clearly kissing is not a strong suit. Then we have AD, who gave Ollie a 10. Of course, you know who it is. Lucy gave Daniel a 9, but gave Ollie a 10 because she could not tell which was which. We'll get into that a little bit later. Rachel gave Clay a 10, but he gave Sandy a 9. That was his highest score. Madison gave Freddie a 10, but she knew it was him. And then he gave her a 10 as well. Louis gave Rachel a 3. And then he gave Sandy a 10 because he says he gets a little feeling whenever they're kissing. And then her bottom was 5. Sorry, her bottom was Freddie. She gave him a 5. And honestly, at this point, I think it's confirmed that Freddie can't really kiss for real. I'm so sorry. It just sorry, Freddie. This is field research. You failed. And so the winners weren't actually a couple. The winners were who had the best like kissing chemistry. And it turned out that it was Sandy and Clay. That was a shock to her, but they end up going on a date. The date was an absolute dud. Nope. It seemed like he would have been keen to couple up with her, but she was like, no, I like Louis. I want to stick with Louis. However, on this date, we do find out that he ranked Rachel a 6. The man who had this intuition that he needs to restart with her and, maybe there's a reason why she's here so they can start again. He ranked her a 6. And that's the end of episode 3. On to episode 4, we have Danny, who is not, I'm not calling him Danny, y'all. We have Daniel, who is not happy with Lucy because he's like, there's no way that you could mix up me and Ollie. Honestly, I agree with him. I agree with him because number one, isn't Ollie like bigger? And number two, the beard. That's a very obvious tell that that's not your man. And it's not like she hasn't been kissing Daniel to not know what he feels like. They've been making out since day 1. This is episode 4 now. And she genuinely could not tell the difference. Now, and as much as I do side with him in the fact that her reasoning didn't make sense, I didn't like how cold he was with her. This is going to be a problem with Daniel throughout the season. When he doesn't get his way, he gets very callous. And, you know, Lucy's crying, and after she cries, and he then is a little bit more empathetic, but he gets cold, and I don't really like that. But anyways, AD starts to think that Ollie must have really given the women the business for him to get such good scores. And on top of that too, for Lucy to not even know that it wasn't her man. How hard were you kissing the girl for her to be like, oh, this is passion. This must be my partner. AD, you might be onto something, girl. So when Sandy comes back, Louis says he is annoyed because she shouldn't have gotten a high score if she wasn't giving her all, right? Sandy is like, if you were not a germaphobe, you would have put your back in it. Let's be for real. Hello? I'm sure the class agrees. Louis would have gone ham if he didn't have a problem with everybody swapping spit and stuff. He was like, oh, no. I don't like that at all. I think that it was interesting to see them have this tiff because it is clear they have feelings for each other. It's so hard for these two specifically, to admit, hey, I'm falling for you. These are feelings that I didn't expect. Like, I'm starting to feel a way that you're connecting with other people. I don't want that. I just want us to focus on each other. It takes them so long. They took the scenic route and they eventually got to the point to say, okay, I'm actually annoyed because I like you, but damn. Sandy's 28. We're the same age. Like, baby girl, come on. We got to be able to articulate our feelings a bit more. At least Louis, he's 23. It's kind of, you know, it kind of comes with the territory. But yeah, they really struggle to get vulnerable, and that's going to keep being a theme with them. Talking about a man who struggles to be vulnerable, Clayton. Clayton, are you a demon? What the hell was Clayton on? Why is this man going to go to Rachel and he's going to say, you know, I've had a revelation here. My intuition is telling me that we should not be together. After he convinced this girl to go against her natural inclination, to go against what she knew in her mind to be true, he's then going to turn around and say, oh, my intuition. Oh, my intuition. Your intuition told you what exactly? Your intuition told you what exactly? He's like, yeah, you know, I'm just realizing this today. Oh my gosh, he's such a demon. So I wasn't really feeling for her. I'll be honest with you. At first I had sympathy, but then when she's crying, she tells everybody that this is the exact same way he ended this 2 times prior. So Rachel, when are we going to learn, Rachel? So Rachel, when are we going to learn, Rachel? He broke up with you once on national television saying his intuition, whatever. Okay, cool. Y'all rekindled at some point, it seems. And then he broke up with you again because of his intuition. Now a third time. It took 3 times for the man to say to you, hey, my intuition is telling me that we don't belong together. For you to finally get the hint, baby girl. Oh my gosh. I want to say he played you, but honestly, I feel like it kind of played yourself. But Clayton played himself too, because obviously with the way that the numbers are set up, it's going to be a guy who's in jeopardy next. So he could have waited and held on to that information, but he said that he's a better man. You know, he has matured, he's older, he's wiser. And so he was going to be true to himself. And when he wasn't feeling it, he told the girl he wasn't feeling it. So at least Clay was kind enough to send Rachel on a date. She chooses to pair her up with Scott. And then they say that AD and JR would be a good couple. I was looking at Sandy like, Sandy, what the hell? JR? Clearly you must be wanting this man for yourself, but no, apparently they're actually a really good fit. Like AD's type to a T is somebody like JR. So, okay. When Ollie finds out that AD is getting sent on a date, the man is off his rocker. And the first thing that came to my mind was, so that rumor going around that he made AD unfollow Marshall because apparently they had a little something going on. Is that true? We're seeing him be very territorial, very possessive. I mean, AD says that she likes it, but baby, slippery slope. Slippery slope if you ask me. But yeah, he just got very territorial and I'm just like, oh, okay. Anyways, weirdly enough, AD and JR are very compatible. Similar amount of siblings. I think they're the similar star sign too. Other stuff was just in alignment. And I was like, well, wait a minute now. Sandy, you might have done your big one. She said that she knew Sandy before coming on the show. So how did she not know who JR was? That confused me. Even if she hadn't seen the season yet or whatever, when you talk to Sandy, don't you think when she's talking about her experience, she wouldn't mention the name JR? But anyways, they didn't know each other, but they were hitting it off, honestly. Then we have Scott, who's on this date with Rachel. They look good together, but Scott was just coming off very F-boy. Very, very F-boy, very calculated. He's kind of like being rude, but that I can't blame him too much because honestly, UK banter is just very different. And he says, oh, I like somebody who can take my banter. We're a little bit dark. We're a little bit harsh. Like I want somebody who can handle that. But they literally look like they are clashing. It seems like for Rachel, it's not fully like clicking that they shouldn't be together. She says that maybe she should try a bad boy because her past has been working out for her. You think Clayton was a good boy? You think Clayton was a good? Anyways, that's the end of episode 4. On to episode 5, when Scott returns to the villa. I don't know if it was just me. I felt like he was not checking for Rachel at all. I said, Rachel, we're supposed to be learning, okay? Look at the signs. Look at how Scott is acting. I don't know if you should invest in this man, okay? Rachel, I need us to be a little bit more observant, just a little bit. But anyways, Scott is moving around. He's getting to know the people. JR is doing the same thing. He's coming in. He's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to steal your girl. Okay, fine. Louis is feeling away, not necessarily because of JR, but because of the history that Sandy and JR have. He does say that he didn't expect to feel so bothered by people being interested in Sandy, but as time goes on, he's becoming more and more attracted to her. And this is something that's actually different for him. So, hey, at least he's growing in this process. He's going to have a dip. He's going to go back into his pettiness in a little bit, but at least he's growing, Then we see Rachel, who is taking a liking to JR. I actually wasn't mad at it. I feel like JR, he comes across as an F-boy. And when you hear that this whole F-boy persona is this new development, he used to be a lot more demure, for lack of a better term. I can see like the softness coming out of him sometimes. And I wouldn't have minded him and Rachel trying something out. She was like, oh yeah, he's my type to a T, whatever. I wouldn't have been mad at it, but they don't explore it. She's embracing the new guys. So of course, Clay is like, you know what? I've had my time here. I release you. I release this. I will self-evict, He's just going to be cumbersome. There's nobody else he's interested in. Juliet is gone. He messed up his chances with her. So he goes. Thank you. Goodbye. Ultimately, Rachel decides to partner up with Scott. I didn't like that. Scott is going to show himself to be a game player. And I shouldn't be shocked because he literally did 3 seasons of 3 different types of Love Island in one summer. Talk about gameplay, okay? Then we see AD. She is last to make her decision. She is stuck between JR and Ollie. She is getting a lot of attention from JR, honestly, and it seems like if Ollie wasn't in the picture, she would have gone full force for JR. And that surprises me. Maybe aesthetically it makes sense, but personality wise, I wouldn't have put them together. He's just so cocky and and I never thought that AD would want a guy like that. But I guess the cockiness kind of shows up in Ollie in a different way. So maybe she does like that. And then Clay too. Well, maybe that is her type. Maybe this personality type really does work with her. I expected her with somebody softer. But hey, yeah. She ultimately decides to stick with Ollie. That makes the most sense. When JR is dumped, he does admit that he came in very hot and heavy, very cocky, but he admits that, but he says, even with that admission, he has no regrets. I can't be mad at that. Then we have another compatibility challenge in the next day, and Sandy and JR were really close to winning. However, not Sandy and JR. Oh no, Sandy and Louis were close to winning. However, Louis fell off the platform, so he was disqualified. And the people who won were Lucy and Daniel. They do this like tantric rope tying meditation type thing. But the main thing is them in the boardroom. Immediately, Lucy is getting stressed when she sees Olivia on that screen. She's like, if he could pick somebody, it would be Olivia. And I'm like, well, baby girl, you might not be wrong, because I do think he started to give her some attention when she came into the villa later. This time around, it was different because the two girls and the two boys were all coming into the villa. So it was Olivia and Justine. And then it was, Ray and Jalen. So because there were 4 people coming in, some people had to go. They had to choose who the most compatible couples are. They didn't know that one of those people were going to go. And ultimately they chose Ollie and AD and Madison and Freddie, right? Freddie ended up going home. So Madison went on the dates. AD ended up going home and Ollie went on the dates. When I tell you, it was as if, like Ollie said, somebody was going off to war. Madison starts to cry. She's like, oh, I just found my perfect match and now you're going to set him. Like, this girl already thinks that Freddie is her husband. It is like she is convinced that Freddie is her husband. And then you have AD full boo-hoo, huffing and puffing. I said, now I know you guys hit it off quite well, but this feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. And he's all distraught. He's like, oh, she's my best friend in here. And they really were giving Love Island vibes, honestly. But that was the end of episode 5. On to episode 6, the last episode of this first batch. Tears are still streaming down people's faces. Oh my gosh, the drama. The drama. As soon as Madison and Ollie go on their dates, it's as if they are kids in candy stores. I said, oh, what happened to the heartbreak, the chaos, the calamity, the breakdowns, the heartache? What happened to that? Out the window, I tell you. Out the window. Ollie called Olivia a PYT, and he didn't even have words for Justine. He was just like, wow, the girl is stunning out. Whew, whew. I'm even putting stunning in his mouth. He could not say anything. He was just so taken by her, right? He says she and AD have a lot in common. And so he's like, yeah, I mean, it's a bummer that AD's gone, but these girls make it better. I said, okay, interesting. We see Ray and Jalen on the date with Madison. I'll be completely honest with you. Seeing who Madison liked on her season of Love is Blind and seeing who she liked on this season of Perfect Match, I said, Ray and Jalen? Really? Especially Ray? But she says that Jalen is her type to a T. And I said, oh, okay, I wouldn't have thought that, but all right. When everybody gets back in the villa, it is so clear who came solely to play a game. The Love Islanders, especially because they're coming off of Love Island games. Oh, they were in game mode. Ray was so happy to see Scott. He's like, oh yeah, somebody can help me with my strategy. And so I was like, oh, strategy. There's not even a prize pot at the end of Perfect Match. So why they're trying to really be strategic and like win the game, I don't know. Like, Yeah, you want to stay on the show for the clout, sure, but at least attempt at making a real connection. You never know. You really never know. But anyways, the Love Islanders are putting in that work. Justine is trying to connect with Ollie. Ray is trying to connect with Madison. I gotta say, this man is more cringe than even his bio. It was one thing to read it, it's another thing to see it. Dare I say he was cringier than JR? Dare I say he was cringier than JR? That is saying a lot, you guys. I could not watch Ray on my screen. It was hard to watch. It really was hard to watch, but moving on. Earlier in the day, Louis had a conversation with his girl and the boys with their girls. And basically they were laying out the rules for, how to act when these new people come in. And I thought it was like in jest. The man was so serious. And so when the guys come in, he's trying to connect with Sandy and he's starting to flip out because Sandy's actually interested in talking to the new boys. Now, I will give Louis some grace. He tried to kiss Sandy and Sandy gave him the cheek. I said, oh, well, that's not a good look. So they're going to have some tension throughout the night. He is now wanting to be petty. He wants to talk to Olivia. He wants to get her alone. He clearly wants to kiss her. He sprayed his mouth with like the breath spray and stuff. But then when he looks over at Sandy and he sees that she's actually not that phased, he goes and talks to her and they have this big blow up. And again, instead of just saying, hey, I like you, hey, my feelings are involved, I'm a little bit hurt by this, he decides to lash out instead. And I don't know why in his head he thinks that that is going to bode well with his partner. But yeah, Sandy was like, yo, what the hell? I'm not going to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? He questions if she's here for a game. And I'm just like, Louis, respectfully, you are giving the biggest game player. Let's be so for real. Like, I actually believe his feelings for Sandy, but if anybody in this coupling was playing a game, my bets are solely on him and nobody else. And nobody else. So Sandy goes off crying. And why did we see Madison notice her friend is crying? She's like, oh my gosh, my girls are really going through it. Mind you, she had just finished crying earlier. She was consoled. She's seeing Sandy cry. She doesn't console her. Why? Because she's able to dissociate. She's been doing it for 28 years. And so she's going to continue talking to Jalen. And I said, this is the thing that I was seeing on Love is Blind. Like, Sandy, I'm sorry. There's certain things that Sandy doesn't says that that Madison doesn't says that I'm just like, are we not seeing this? Okay, maybe I'm the crazy one. I don't know. Anyways, we have Daniel who, what did Daniel do? Oh my gosh, Daniel did something. Daniel starts to feel a way about Lucy because she's talking loud. She's like yelling, having a good time. She's laughing or whatever. And he says something to her. Oh yeah, he's basically like, yo, why are you showing this guy so much attention? Like, why are you doing that? The men's egos this season, these men are, oh my gosh, the ego is so fragile. But of course, Lucy cries about that because again, she's receiving this very cold side of him. And so when he realizes he maybe took it too far, he goes and he tries to talk to her. And her main thing is like, I don't want to be with somebody who's constantly disappointed by me. I totally hear you, girl. Totally hear you. This is the second time now he's had a problem with her and like how she behaves, and especially how she behaves with men. Lucy, baby, I feel like this is going to be a problem, but okay. We see Ollie connect with Justine. He still says like, oh yeah, they're so similar and stuff like that. He questions if he should pick somebody different because they are so similar, but ultimately he does decide to stay with Justine. We then see Louis, who is rethinking his little tiff that he had with Sandy. He's like, you know what? I'm seeing people actually make some strong connections. Let me focus on my strong connection. And so he goes back to Sandy. That now means that Olivia and Ray are going home. I was so happy to see Ray go. I was so happy to see Ray please don't come back. But he does. We know he does. So we see, well, we don't actually get to see, but Justine and Ollie were doing a little kissy in their room. And I said, oh. And then the next day, Justine is talking about Ollie being a superior cuddler and stuff like that. I said, oh. Okay, something is definitely brewing here. Nick comes and he splits everybody up. The guys are going on this little like retreat to mix and mingle with the single girls, whether they've seen them or not. I think the only new person was QT, and the same thing is happening with the girls. They're gonna hang out with the other single boys. Ollie was so geeked. All the guys were geeked until he saw that AD is coming back. So all of that you were doing with Justine, basically making her your replacement AD, how will you atone for that? I'm interested to see how he navigates that. The next drop is August 8th, I think. It should be about 3 episodes, so let's see. The streets have been saying that it hadn't been a smooth ride for Ollie and AD, and I think it starts here. So as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow along to see what happens in the next few episodes. We are here every Tuesday. I think Beyond the Villa has a few episodes left as well. So yeah, we'll still be talking about that too. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on everything we've spoken about today, the online drama, the Beyond the Villa storylines, and what's been happening on The Perfect Match. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.